censorship. Warning, censorship.
The Alberta government is stonewalling our Rebel News investigation into their treatment of yet another pastor, a man who is jailed for breaking public health orders for, I guess, refusing to be obedient to the state over his own conscience. Pastor Artur Pawlowski was one of our very first Fight the Fines clients, and he was an early success story in our ongoing efforts to push back against the tyranny of public health orders in jurisdictions all across Canada. Pawlowski and his brother David received multiple lockdown tickets, thousands upon thousands of dollars worth, in Calgary, Alberta. Their crimes against public health? Feeding the homeless and street people last winter. Authorities called what they were doing an illegal public gathering and started issuing tickets. We lawyered up the two brothers at no cost to them through our civil liberties project, fightthefines.com, where in partnership with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund, and through so many generous donations from people like you at home, we helped the Pawlowskis the same way we help normal people fight their lockdown tickets in court. We don't pay the tickets, we fight the tickets, and we take the government to task. And Art's lawyer, Sarah Miller, has had many of those early tickets just tossed right out of court. So I think the Alberta government had to get creative to bring these two men to heel. When the Pawlowski pair refused to limit their church attendance and turn away 85% of their congregation to meet an arbitrary government target of just 15% attendance, and when the pair wouldn't force worshippers to wear masks and social distance from each other during the fellowship of church services, the government ramped up inspections to the church. The health authorities and police officers wanted to enter the church during services to check for COVID compliance, when in Canada, interrupting a church service is a violation of the criminal code. Take a look at this.
Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Okay. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out.
Well, in case you didn't know, that didn't work. Authorities did come back with a warrant. A judge signed off on a secret court order obtained without knowledge or participation of Art's longtime lawyer, Sarah. That order allowed authorities to enter Art's church anytime during the day, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And when Art blocked them to protect the sanctity of his church, he ended up in contempt of a judge's court order. But the persecution of Art and his brother David got worse. It did not end there. Another secret court order restrained the ability of all Albertans, including me at the time, to participate in an illegal public gathering, which at the time included church services and protests against the lockdown. The order led to the arrest of 4 people over just a few days. Small-town diner owner Chris Scott was arrested after he protested the government chaining up his restaurant and forcing him to close. Pastor Tim Stevens was arrested in front of his crying children and held for weeks for the crime of not closing his church. And Artur and David were arrested and held for nearly 3 days in a SWAT-style takedown on a Calgary city street after church services. And now, friends, that a judge has found Art and David guilty of being in contempt, the government wants them to be held for 21 and 10 more days respectively. You can find out their fate along with us on October 13th, and you can help fund their enormous legal fees at saveartur.com. But at Rebel News, we wanted to know what the decision-making process was for the government here. Why did they act so crazy? How did they come to think this church was a super spreader event when it clearly wasn't? What prompted the ongoing harassment? Who was behind it? And what in God's name inspired these people in the government to treat 2 pastors heading home from the church as an active shooter event? How did they react when the whole thing blew up in the government's face as a shocked world looked on in horror at the images they saw of the arrest of the Pawlowskis? We filed for access to information into the Alberta Justice Ministry, and as it turns out, the government is taking an extreme delay here. Just look at this. We asked the government to provide copies of all documents, including emails, texts or instant messages, Slack messages, WhatsApp messages, memos, briefing notes, correspondence, reports, etc. regarding Pastor Artur Pawlowski of Street Church in Calgary since January 1st, 2021, and we wanted the entire time period from that date up to May 21st, 2021. Now, normally, the government is forced to respond to access to information requests within 30 days of receipt. However, the government is deciding to extend this time limit under certain circumstances. They are asking now for an additional 200 days to provide us this information. So they say they're going to get this information to us by April 4th, 2022. This is unbelievable. The government will only turn over their digital records for their decision-making process to arrest and incarcerate Art Pawlowski and his brother only after the two of them serve whatever outrageous sentence they will surely receive at the hands of the state. This really should be unbelievable, but this is also the same province that locked up Pastor James Coates for 5 weeks, 35 days for refusing to close his Grace Life Church. But this is not the only extension the government has taken on this file, nor is it the first attempt to block us from getting our hands on this information. This is only the latest delay. The government has already taken a 30-day extension on this request. They did that way back in the spring when they first filed, and at that time they sent us a bill for $1,245 for labor. We will get this information. I'm not going to be stopped. It's our duty as journalists to shine a light on the things the governments do when they think no one is watching. Can you help us offset our research costs? We do not get $1.5 billion from the government like the CBC does, and we aren't on the government dole like the mainstream bailout media. We rely on people like you at home, watching this to help us keep fighting, to keep us investigating. If you'd like to help us cover these costs, please donate today at our research fund website, rebelinvestigates.com. And to those of you who donate to that fund and continue to donate, thank you for your help and thank you for your commitment to holding the government accountable on behalf of the people. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you would like to help us get access to government documents relating to the persecution, arrest, and incarceration of Pastor Art Pawlowski and his brother David, please donate today at rebelinvestigates.com.